In this verse, the meaning of this verse, as given by Srila Prabhupada here, is the symptoms of a sadhu are Titiksavah, he's tolerant, Karunikaha is merciful, Suhridaha is friendly to all living entities, not to serve and all living entities because it is Sarvadehinam. Then a Jata Shatravaha. Shatru means enemy, Jata is born, a Jata is never born. He has no enemies. No enemies are ever born because he never treats anybody as enemies. Shantaha, he is peaceful. Sadhava Sadhu Bhushanaha. He abides by the scriptures and all his characteristics are sublime. These are some of the characteristics of a sadhu. Uh, Many of us have come to this path of spiritual life by the mercy of a sadhu. And we would also continuously expect that we get to know more and more sadhus. But quite often it turns out that in this world we are cheated. Uh, it seems that everybody poses themselves as a sadhu, but actually they aren't. So the Shastra helps us to identify who such sadhus are by giving certain qualities. In the series that we are going to do now, I'd like to address two aspects of the coin. One is, what are the qualities of a sadhu, and what does it mean to have those qualities? That's number one. What should be the quality of a disciple? Most of us are at the stage, I shouldn't say most, I think all of us are at the stage of being a disciple. So, what are the qualities required for a disciple, and what are the qualities required for a sadhu? So, let us understand both of these. Let's go firstly with Titiksavah and Shanta. They go sort of hand in hand. There's a subtle difference though between them. And I'd like to explain this quality taking some examples from the life of our acharyas, and in particular today the life of Srila Lokanath Goswami, who appeared in the 16th century, and Srila Prabhupada, the founder acharya of ISKCON. Titikshavah means tolerant, and Shantaha means peaceful. So a person can be tolerant to many miseries that may be afflicting him. Why? Because he is then on a transcendental platform. And a person can be peaceful irrespective of what else may happen. So we often have an image of a sadhu as a quiet, smiling person who closing his eyes, half closed his eyes, and that's what we ascribe to as the qualities of Titikshavah and Shantaha. Uh, is that true? Not necessarily. Why? Let me elaborate it with a little example here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the very incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared in 1486 AD. At around the same time, Lokanath Goswami also appeared in Bengal. And he I mean, unlike most of us, he's not just like somebody who's trying to become a devotee. He is one of those who are eternal devotees. So he's a sadhu par excellence, so to say. When he had an intense desire to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because the fame and glory of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was spread far and wide in Bengal. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conducted his pastimes in Bengal for 24 years, from 1486 to approximately 1510 AD. At that time, Lokanath Goswami, who was in a neighboring village in Bengal, he went and met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he got to know that Mahaprabhu would soon conclude his pastimes in Bengal and he would take sannyas. At that point in time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not taken sannyas. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas just to instruct everybody in this world how a devotee should conduct himself in this world. There is no need for the Supreme Lord to take sannyas. So when Lokanath Goswami went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu said, now is not the time for us to have our further conversations and further interactions with each other. You please go to Vrindavan. I will come there. And with a heavy heart, Lokanath Goswami went to Vrindavan. Imagine seeing the most beautiful, charming personality of God, the Supreme Lord, directly, and then being said, "Now you please go away." Is it easy to tolerate? No, it was not easy to tolerate for him. And yet he obeyed the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and went to Vrindavan. After some time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and went to Puri. About, I think, 2 years after he came to Puri, or 1.5 years or something like that, in around 1511 or 1512 AD, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embarked on a pilgrimage to South India. And Lokanath Goswami got the news from some people who were traveling from Puri to Vrindavan. And as he got this news, he uh, thought, I cannot tolerate being in Vrindavan anymore. Vrindavan, it is said, is actually the same as the Vrindavan of the spiritual world. A person who has transcendental vision can actually see that the supreme abode is actually present in the home of Vrindavan, in the Vrindavan of Uttar Pradesh district, state in India. But it requires a particular vision. Today, if you go there, you'll only see pigs and you'll see monkeys and drainage and sewage and all of that on the road. But there is a transcendental realm beyond it, whose beauty is available only for perfected souls. Lokanath Goswami was one among those perfected souls. And yet, he couldn't tolerate the separation from the Supreme Lord. So he went on a pilgrimage trip from Vrindavan to South India, thinking, maybe I can meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the time he was in South India, he heard that actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had concluded his pastime in South India, and he had gone back to Puri. And actually, not just back to Puri, he was on his way to Vrindavan. So he rushed to Vrindavan. And when he rushed to Vrindavan, it turned out that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would actually come to Vrindavan and stayed there for some time. And after that, he went back from Vrindavan to Prayag, that is Allahabad. So if you look at the map in India, on the east side is Puri, somewhere in center is Prayag or Allahabad, and further west is Mathura or Vrindavan. So by the time he came to Vrindavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to Vrindavan and was on his way back to Puri through Prayag. So he thought, oh my God, I have again missed to have the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he thought, tomorrow I am going to start to Prayag when he heard this news. At that night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to him in a dream and told him, Lokanath Goswami, I will manifest myself to you in a different form. But for now, don't move about here and there. Stay put in Vrindavan. The reason the reason I brought about this pastime is there is the quality of tolerance. Lokanath Goswami could tolerate the urges of the senses. He could tolerate because every day while in Vrindavan, he used to go from one tree to another tree and he just used to stay there. He didn't even bother about so much of his bodily needs. But there is a spiritual need. And the spiritual need is to have reciprocations with the Supreme Lord. For that, he was not a passive observer. He was actively doing something. So the word tolerance here doesn't mean that one just stops trying to do anything and becomes an inert stone or just like a vegetable lying just to rot sometime. No, that is not the meaning of tolerance. Tolerance means accepting the circumstances of life that come the way as it is, and yet maintaining one's enthusiasm to serve the Supreme Lord and his part and parcels. With this, I will conclude today. We'll take additional insights from this verse tomorrow and the following days of this week. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.